The modern story begins not with an archaeologist's trawl, but with a prophet's vision. In the 1930s and 40s, an American clairvoyant named Edgar Cayce, while in a self-induced trance, made a series of astonishing claims. He spoke of the lost continent of Atlantis and of refugees who, foreseeing their own cataclysm, traveled to ancient Egypt. Before their civilization vanished, Cayce claimed, they constructed a great library to house the sum of their knowledge. And they hid this hall of records in a chamber deep beneath the Giza plateau, its entrance lying somewhere near the right paw of the Great Sphinx. He even prophesied its rediscovery between 1958 and 1998, a discovery that would herald a new age for humanity. It's a story that sounds like pure fiction, and while the time frame has come and gone, the search it inspired has yielded results that are, in their own way, just as profound. The story of what lies beneath the Sphinx is a tale of two competing narratives: the legend of a lost civilization and the patient scientific search for the truth. And as we'll see, the line between them has gotten increasingly blurry. For 4.5 millennia, the Great Sphinx of Giza has crouched in the sand, its blank eyes staring toward the eastern horizon. It's the world's largest monolithic statue, a silent sentinel guarding the last surviving wonder of the ancient world. But what if its greatest secret isn't what it is, but what it protects? For centuries, whispers and legends have told of a chamber hidden deep beneath its colossal paws, a library of lost knowledge, a time capsule from a forgotten age, a repository known as the Hall of Records. For most of history, it was a myth, a treasure hunter's fantasy. But what is the truth? After decades of speculation, clandestine digs, and advanced scientific surveys, we know the bedrock of the Giza Plateau is not as solid as it seems. The story of what's under the Sphinx is a fascinating tangle of myth and science, and what we're finding forces us to rethink what we know about this ancient monument. The legend of the Hall of Records and the early search, the idea of secret chambers at Giza, didn't begin with Edgar Cayce. That legacy stretches back centuries. The Roman author Pliny the Elder, writing in the 1st century A, recorded local beliefs that the Sphinx concealed the tomb of a ruler named Harmai. Medieval Arab writers spoke of hidden passages filled with wonders. These tales fueled the imaginations of countless adventurers who descended on the plateau, armed with little more than gunpowder, shovels, and an insatiable desire for discovery. One of the most notable of these early excavators was Giovanni Caviglia. In the early 19th century, with the Sphinx still buried up to its neck in sand, Caviglia began a massive clearing operation. Between the paws of the Sphinx, his team uncovered a small shrine, a collection of stone slabs known as stelae, including the famous dream stele and a horned altar with scorch marks from ancient offerings. They even found fragments of the Sphinx's iconic braided beard and the cobra head that once adorned its brow. These were incredible discoveries, revealing that the Sphinx was the center of a vibrant religious cult, particularly during the New Kingdom. But Caviglia also documented something more tantalizing, a network of tunnels, though his accounts were largely dismissed by the formal academic world. A few years later, in 1837, the British engineer Howard Vyse arrived. Vyse was obsessed with finding hidden chambers. After blasting his way into the Great Pyramid, he turned to the Sphinx. Convinced an entrance lay on the monument itself, he ordered his men to drill a crude hole into its back. This shaft, known as Puring's Hole, plunged nearly 30 feet into the solid limestone before the drill rod broke. For over a century, these brute force attempts defined the search. They were treasure hunts, not scientific investigations. Serious Egyptologists dismissed the legends, and the consensus was clear. The Sphinx was solid, and any tunnels were just natural fissures. It would take new technology to bring the search back into the mainstream and challenge that narrative. The modern scientific quest, the latter half of the 20th century, transformed the search into a high-tech investigation. The legend of the Hall of Records, kept alive by Case's followers, now faced the ultimate test: modern science. If there were large, man-made cavities beneath the Sphinx, sophisticated geophysical equipment should be able to find them. Starting in the late 1970s, teams from institutions like Stanford Research Institute and Japan's Waseda University arrived at Giza, armed with ground-penetrating radar and seismic instruments. These techniques let scientists see beneath the ground, sending energy pulses and measuring the echoes that bounce back. Different materials like solid bedrock, sand, or an empty space produce different signals, creating a virtual map of what's below. The results were electrifying. The Japanese team detected several anomalies, including evidence of a tunnel near the tail of the Sphinx and what appeared to be a cavity in front of its left paw. An American team working with geophysicist Dr. Thomas Dobetsky also conducted seismic surveys that seemed to confirm several regular, rectangular-shaped voids a few meters beneath the surface between the paws and along the sides of the Sphinx. This news sparked intense excitement and controversy. It seemed that modern science might be validating the core of the legends. The Egyptian authorities, led by the then director of the Giza Plateau, Dr. Zahi Hawass, were in a tough spot. They were inundated with requests to drill into these anomalies, but remained deeply skeptical and fiercely protective of the monument. Hawass has consistently maintained that there is no evidence for a lost civilization at Giza, and that the Hall of Records is a fantasy. Despite the official skepticism, some limited exploratory drilling was permitted. According to official reports, these drillings revealed only natural fissures and small cracks in the bedrock, not large artificial chambers. The story, for a time, went quiet, but for many, that wasn't a satisfying explanation. The seismic data seemed too compelling, and critics accused the authorities of a cover-up. The mystery deepened. Had the equipment produced phantom readings, or had the drills simply missed their targets? The tantalizing possibility of hidden chambers remained, supported by data but unconfirmed by physical proof. Piercing the veil. What's really down there? The Giza Plateau is an active archaeological site, and while the world was focused on a single Hall of Records, archaeologists were methodically exploring multiple shafts, tunnels, and chambers that riddle the area around and within the Sphinx. These aren't legends. They are real physical spaces. Let's start with the most infamous intrusion, Purring's Hole. In 1978, a team led by Zahi Hawass finally cleared the shaft drilled by Howard Vyse over a century earlier. They didn't find a grand chamber, but they did find a fragment of the Sphinx's headdress, confirming the shaft penetrated the monument's original body. Then there is the narrow tunnel at the rear of the Sphinx, near its tail, which descends into the bedrock before ending abruptly. More intriguing are the cavities within the Sphinx's head and on its back, likely natural fissures enlarged by human hands, which were sealed up by restorers in the 1920s. Perhaps the most dramatic feature is a complex shaft system located not directly under the Sphinx, but to its west, near the causeway of Khafre's Pyramid. Often called the Osiris Shaft, or water shaft, its lower levels were flooded, making exploration impossible until Zahi Hawass led a mission in 1999 to pump out the water. What they found was astonishing. A multi-level tomb complex. The deepest chamber, nearly 100 feet below the plateau's surface, held a massive, empty black granite sarcophagus surrounded by water. The entire complex appears to be a symbolic tomb for Osiris, the god of the underworld, dating to the late period some 2,000 years after the Sphinx was carved. So, have archaeologists found the Hall of Records? The answer, according to all official reports, is no. There is no evidence for a vast library from a lost civilization. Instead, they found something arguably more complex, a network of shafts, tunnels, and chambers created for different purposes over thousands of years. And recent scans continue to add to this picture. In 2024, a joint Japanese-Egyptian team, using GPR, identified another significant anomaly, this time in the Western Cemetery near the Great Pyramid. A large L-shaped underground structure that may be an entrance to yet another undiscovered tomb. The truth buried at Giza, it turns out, is not a single secret, but a layered history of continuous human activity. The revelation and the lingering mystery. So, what was buried under the Sphinx for 4,500 years? The answer is both more mundane and more complex than the legends. There was no single aha moment. Instead, there has been a slow, methodical revelation built from decades of patient work. Buried under the sand was a history of reverence and restoration. We now know that kings like Thutmose IV and Ramesses the Great conducted massive restoration projects, building shrines and stelae between its paws. Buried within its body and the surrounding rock is a complex network of tunnels, shafts, and natural fissures. Some were unfinished tombs, others were likely exploratory tunnels from later periods, and some, like the incredible multi-level Osiris shaft, were sophisticated ritual sites built millennia after the Sphinx was carved. Science has helped answer the primary question. Are there cavities under and around the Sphinx? The answer is yes. But in doing so, it has debunked the romantic notion of a pristine Atlantean archive. The Hall of Records, as described by Edgar Cayce, has not been found, and yet a powerful sense of mystery endures. The discovery of these voids and tunnels, even if they are now explained, has inadvertently given the legends a new lease on life, and it raises a new, more compelling set of questions. We now have evidence of numerous passages. Could some of them be older than we think? The Osiris shaft is dated to the late period, but could it have been built by expanding on a much older natural cave system? Then there's the most tantalizing question. The sarcophagi found in the deepest, most inaccessible chambers, like the one in the Osiris shaft, were empty. Why? The conventional answer is ancient tomb robbers. But the alternative view asks a more profound question. What if they weren't robbed? What if the chambers were never meant for a body, but for something else entirely? Or what if they did hold something of immense importance? Not Atlantean records, but something sacred to the ancient Egyptians, and it was moved in antiquity for safekeeping. The legend of the Hall of Records forced us to look. And when we looked, we found something real. We found tunnels. We found chambers. We found shafts. They may not hold the answers the mystics promised, but they have undeniably deepened our understanding of the Giza Plateau as a living, sacred landscape. The journey from myth to science hasn't ended the mystery. It has simply redefined it. The original question was, is there a secret chamber under the Sphinx? We now have a more complex picture. The new question is, why? The Great Sphinx continues to guard its secrets, but we are closer than ever to understanding them. The journey has taken us from a prophet's visions to the cutting edge of geophysical science. We now know the bedrock beneath the Sphinx and the surrounding plateau is not solid, but is instead a honeycomb of natural fissures and man-made passages. While the fabled Hall of Records remains a legend, the reality of what lies beneath is a complex and fascinating story written in stone over millennia. Archaeologists like Zahi Hawass continue to announce new finds from the Giza Plateau, keeping the world on the edge of its seat. The evidence has been laid bare. On one side, we have the official archaeological consensus, a story of natural geology, tombs, and ritual shafts. On the other, the lingering questions and anomalies that keep the legend alive. But now, I want to know what you think. Do you believe the empty chambers are simply the work of ancient tomb robbers? Or is it possible something more significant was once stored there? And what do you make of the strange anomalies that science has detected but not yet fully explained? Let me know your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into one of history's greatest mysteries, please like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the secrets of the ancient world. Thank you for watching.